So here I am with Rebecca and Jordan, and just before we started recording this session, I asked them why their previous coach wasn't really keen on real estate investing, and Jordan, and both Rebecca and Jordan said she felt that you should only buy real estate when you have all the money that you need to buy it, and that de-risks it. And I think that is true. And I was telling a story, which is kind of a funny story, about my father-in-law who's passed away, Ken McMillan, who didn't really like me much because I built quite a large real estate business, about probably closer to $1 billion worth of real estate, mostly on debt. And Ken, I wanted to tell you, was an old timer. I don't think he ever owed anybody any money ever. And so, if he wanted a new truck, he would just, if he had the cash, he would buy it. And if he didn't have the cash, he would use the old truck until he did. And, he lived in a one-room trailer that he built himself, right? And it kind of looked like he built it himself. I don't know if you've ever seen some handyman special that you go in and you're thinking about maybe buying the house or something, and the owner proudly tells you, Jordan and Rebecca, that I did the renovations myself. And then you look at those renovations and you realize that pretty much everything he or she has done, you have to pull out and do again, right? But that was kind of Ken, and when he passed away, it came to me and my wife, Dawn McMillan, to sell his little piece of land and his kind of a jury-rigged house. And the only way we could sell it, given the state it was in back then, was we sold it to a nice young couple, kind of probably your age. We sold it, I think, for $18,000, lot and home, and we let them pay it off $1,000 a month for 18 months.
Wow!
It was the only way to sell it, and so the bottom line is that Ken had a very particular point of view about life. And I had a lot of respect for him, even though he didn't like me much. But on the other hand, as you know, 15 years ago, I had to restart my career, but it wasn't because of the real estate that we bought. It was because of the hockey team that we bought. And I'm wearing my Blue Jays hat, not my Senators hat, because I'm on strike as far as the Senators are concerned.
Yeah, there you go.
So you have to be comfortable with the idea of having a mortgage, and if not, you'll be like my father-in-law, Ken, and if you go to, say, Mexico, or you go to Central America, or you go to South America, or you go to the Caribbean, you'll notice that there are many structures built where you've got the ground floor built and there's like rebar sticking out of the first level.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is the case?
So that they can build a second story when they're ready and they have the money.
There you go. Because
I did my homework.
you do. I know you're a good student, Rebecca. I'm not sure about Jordan yet, but that's okay. But anyway, what I'm getting at is, in many of these countries, mortgages are not unknown, but almost impossible for most people to get. And I have friends who own a hotel in Belize, which is a small country in Central America. I'm very fond of them, and I coach them. And they're the first Belizeans, the locals, to own a hotel on the offshore islands. Almost all of the hotels in the offshore islands, except for I think one, are owned by white folks. And they were the first people to own their own hotel. And they were able to put some money together, and I helped them raise the money, and they were able to do 2 floors.
Nice.
Which was great. And on this particular island, I think they're limited to 4 stories because they don't want to have, like, they don't want to look like Honolulu, with 50-story buildings. I don't know if they're 50, but they're certainly 30 and 40 stories in Honolulu. So they are going to build 4, but they have only built 2. And then last year, during the pandemic, they had an off year, so they had time and they had put the money together. They built the 3rd floor, and eventually I think they'll have a 4th on it. Basically the question I had for you guys is, do you want to be the Ken McMillan or the Bruce Firestone?
Bruce Firestone.
Yeah, Bruce Firestone.
Well, I just want to make sure because it's not for everybody, and I understand that. In their case, in Belize, because they're local people, it's almost impossible to qualify for a mortgage. It just, unfortunately, there's a lot of discrimination against, folks, colored folks. These are wonderful people. They're super smart. They run a great hotel, and they're very successful. It's hard for white people to really understand what it's like to be a colored person in the world today. It's not easy.
Right. Yeah.
So we do have some advantages for sure. All right. So we've settled that question. That's great. So Rebecca, I went through your agenda, and thanks again for sending it. It really helps. And Jordan, I'd like you to think about questions as they come up over the next, few days, weeks, and months, so that you can contribute as well if you have questions. And what I ask the people I coach to do is, have a piece of paper next to their bed, or put their phone next to their bed. And if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, oh, gee, I should really ask Prof Bruce that, write it down and just make it part of the agenda, because I coach some former students of mine who are buying their first investment property. I coach a couple of billionaires, and then I've got lots of people in between, and everybody's different. Yeah. And so, as your particular circumstances are very interesting, but they're very different than, say, a couple of billionaires, and they're very different from a former student of mine who's buying her first investment property. So your agenda is really important, because I don't have a one-size-fits-all coaching program. Okay?
Totally.
Yeah, because otherwise the sessions aren't tuned to you, and some coaches will teach you how to flip houses. I don't teach people that, but some people will teach you how to flip houses, and then that's all they do, right? So you have to fit into their mold. And my coaching is different. I kind of fit into yours.
Wicked.
And then I add some stuff to it. So thanks again for the agenda. What I'd like to do, with your permission, is I'd like to start with your last point, which is how to get yourself a free home. Are you there?
Yes. Okay.
So Rebecca's last
residential. Yeah.
So and then we're going to start. Then we're going to go. What I'd like to do is I'd like to work backwards on your agenda. The last point on your agenda, I've got it here. I'll share my screen with you. You don't have to look it up. I have it. Just give me a second here. So the last point on Rebecca's agenda, we would like to chat more on how to establish ourselves and our family in a lovely long-term home the kids can be proud of, to have their friends over, and to have my mother with us, but not too close. And to animate the place like glamping. Love the idea. Based on these 5 points, I feel like we will be able to fill our time together and set a great plan. So I'd like to work backwards on the agenda. Is that okay?
Yeah, totally.
And so I did promise you I would show you how to get a free home.
Yay!
All right. So that's what we're going to do. All right.
Okay.
How to get Rebecca and Jordan a free home. I'm going to start with one that I did. Let's see. Yeah. Last weekend I did this. So I bought another house for my wife and I. And in fact, I'll show you on Google Maps. Let's just go on to Google Maps. So I bought another property. Every day seems to be the same because I'm kind of trapped at home. We're on this stay-at-home. We have a stay-at-home order in Ontario. It's out of control. COVID is really wrecking our economy and wrecking our society. But anyway, so every day is pretty much the same. So I can't remember whether it was Saturday or Sunday, but I bought another house in Belleville, Ontario. Do you know Belleville, Ontario?
I've heard, but I've never been.
All right, so I'll show you. I'll just pan out on a map. All right.
That's pretty.
What's that?
I like that picture. That's a really pretty little place.
Oh yeah, you're going to see a lot more of it. You're going to know more about this than you ever wanted to. So Belleville is relatively close to Toronto.
Okay.
And and it's relatively close to Ottawa. So you can get from Ottawa to where I live now with my kids and my wife to Belleville in about 2.5 hours. You get to Toronto in about 2 hours. And we'll zoom in a little bit. Belleville's a little town of about 56,000 people with a very strong economy. And their economy is actually booming, and their house prices are off the charts, like just increasing at an incredible rate, because right now my estimate is about 400,000 people your age, and some older people too, are leaving Toronto. So as soon as even before the pandemic hit, lots of young people were opting to work from home. They were, even before the pandemic, this was happening. People were developing gigs, you know, becoming tattoo artists, becoming mural artists, you know, becoming real estate investment and business coaches. It was incredible. And so even before the pandemic, I thought small towns within reasonable distance of a major city like Toronto and a smaller city like Ottawa would do well. And then the pandemic hit. And all of a sudden, I think 400,000 people are making Toronto salaries, but they can live in Whitby, Ontario, a small town, or Belleville, Ontario. Do you sort of see what I'm getting at? Yeah. So what I started to do was I talk a lot, as you know, Rebecca. But I also walk the talk.
Yeah.
Which makes me, I think, a better coach.
Yes.
So rather than just talking, I act on what I believe. And so I started buying properties in Belleville. I chose Belleville. I really like it. It's on the Bay of Quinte, which you can see right here. This is a beautiful, beautiful piece of, it's called the Bay of Quinte, one of the best sailing spots in Ontario, and I happen to like to sail.
Nice.
So I bought a number of properties in Belleville, but the latest one was either Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember which day. I'll just show you this. This is the street, okay? So if you look down the street here, let's just go down the street a little bit, okay? You've got some mixed housing, but you've got some really beautiful old buildings here. This is called Old East Hill. So it's one of the best neighborhoods in Belleville, and it's very old. Most of the houses date back 100 to 150 years. All right, so they're old, and lots of these houses have gone. You could have bought a house in Old East Hill for $350,000 a year and a half ago. Today they're $700,000. Wow. So they've doubled in about a year and a half, maybe even a little bit more. When you go to Belleville now, you know, I'm a fairly high profile guy. So when I started buying properties, I bought some properties downtown Belleville, you know, some mixed use buildings, you know, 3-story buildings that are really quite nice. And we're fixing them up. Because I'm such a high profile guy, I created my own competition. Do you understand that? So, yep. So if you were to do something, you don't tell anybody. You know, so I didn't want to do any media interviews or whatever, but Belleville's a small town, and you know, I'm relatively well known. So all of a sudden, Toronto investors started to focus. Oh, Firestone's there. The founder of the Ottawa Senators is buying up property. So it became more difficult. I beg your pardon?
So then they have to come check it out wherever you were going.
Yeah, exactly. They follow me around. That is not unknown. I mean, I realize that's been happening for probably close to 40 years now. And so I realized that I had a window of opportunity to buy some properties, you know, for not very much money, and beautify them, renovate them, really do something special with them. And of course, you hope they go up in value and you make some money. Also, what I teach people to do is to buy, animate, renovate, lease properly, refinance, and hold on to their properties. So I don't teach people how to flip houses. I'm not saying you never sell anything, but I rarely sell anything, only exceptional circumstances. So this, as you can see, is, I'll just go back here. I guess it'll take me back there. So we bought on Saturday or Sunday, we bought the cheapest house on the street. And the reason it was this is the only house in Belleville now that went under list price. So the list price on it, I think, was $500,000. And we put in an offer of $485,500 for it. So we were about $15,000 below asking price. And every other house on this street, and in fact, all across Belleville, is going for $96,000 over ask, sometimes $150,000 over asking, sometimes even more. So you'd have to ask yourself, how the heck did Firestone buy one of the, and this is a big house, it's 2,600 square feet.
Wow. Yeah.
How did Firestone buy this thing under list when everything? It's because it's not in very good shape, number one. And number two, the investors who own it, it's just owned by investors, have been ignoring this house, so it doesn't show very well. In fact, it shows very poorly. And I think they're Toronto-based investors, and they don't spend they didn't spend a nickel that they didn't have to. They made their tenants buy their own washing machine and dryer. Oh, you want a washing machine and dryer? Sure, you go buy it. And so the rents on this place, there is a 5-bedroom home in front. So the home that you're seeing in front here is a 5-bedroom home. And do you know what a double is?
Like a duplex maybe, or?
No, a double is a side-by-side. So you have a house here and it's attached here. That's a double.
Okay.
So this is a double, but it's back-to-back.
Okay.
All right. So what you have is you have a 5-bedroom house in the front, and then you have a 2-bedroom house in behind. All right. So this is a 5-bedroom home here on William Street in Old East Hill. And there's another house that you can't see yet, but I'll show you in behind. And then there's an old garage, which I'll show you here in a second. I don't know if you'll be able to see it here. You can can you see this sort of back here? Can you see back there?
Oh, yeah.
There's a little garage back there. I don't know what it looks like on your screen, but hopefully you can see it. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So we paid about $15,000 under asking. And instead of having to compete with sometimes 20 other offers, or sometimes even more, 30 other offers, we only had to compete with one other family. And when you're buying a property, Rebecca and Jordan, you have to understand the motivation of the sellers. And so we did quite a bit of research on these sellers, and we found out that the sellers, funnily enough, had become friends with their tenants. They have a tenant paying, I think, $1,200 for a 5-bedroom house in the front.
Oh my God.
And they had, for a lovely 2-bedroom house in the back, the back-to-back situation, at $800. So they're getting almost no rent. But they had become friends with their tenants, and they didn't want to kick them out. And so we put in an offer with a very short irrevocable, very short irrevocable. Do you know what an irrevocable is?
So is it when you don't have any clauses or anything?
No, we did have a financing condition in there, but we didn't have a building inspection. We only had one condition, which is financing. But we didn't have a building inspection condition because when we did the walkthrough, we did the building inspection at the same time. So here's what we did. I'm just going to stop sharing, and we're going to come back to that in a minute. So when you're going to buy, this lovely house that we're going to see if we can find one for you. I want you to think about how I did it, okay, and how I approach real estate, which is quite different. I want to buy something with high DOM. DOM stands for days on market.
Yes.
So this particular building had been for sale in Belleville for 31 or 32 days. In a super hot market, almost every building in Belleville was going over ask and was selling in about 3 days. So you ask yourself, why did this one sit on the market for so long? Because it didn't show well, and the sellers didn't want to sell it to somebody who would kick the tenants out. So if you and Jordan were to buy this property to live in, you have the right to give the tenants the notice that you're moving in, right? That's one of the things that's allowed under the Residential Tenancy Act in Ontario. But the sellers wouldn't sell it to you. So even though we would like the tenants to leave, we're prepared to accept these horrible leases that they have entered into. Good tenants, so nice tenants. I met them and we talked to them, and we told the tenants too, oh, you can stay. They said, really? Of course, they immediately call the owner, say, you ought to sell it to these people. You understand where I'm coming from? Right. It's strategic, okay? And we also went with our offer prepared. We had prepared all the documentation that we needed. We just needed to walk through the building, talk to the tenants, look at the neighborhood, look at the condition of the building. And then afterwards, we were able to, complete the agreement of purchase and sale right there and then, sign it electronically. You can sign electronically. You guys know that?
Yep.
Yep. So sign it electronically and submit it with a short irrevocable. In other words, we gave the seller the offer. I think it was Saturday night that they got the offer, and we gave them till Sunday at 3 p.m. So we didn't give them a week, because if you give them a week to think it over, they'll shop the offer. They'll see if they can find some other sucker who will buy it for more. And they accepted it without change.
Wow.
All right? Now, I want to share my screen again. Now, how, and Rebecca's probably saying, okay, that's all nice, well and good, Bruce, but how in the world do you get a free home out of this? All right, I'll show you. So I'll just make the pictures a little bigger. So this is a picture of the backyard garage. Can you see it okay on the screen here? Whoops. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to add on another room here.
Okay.
So there'll be a bedroom here and a bedroom here, and there will be sort of a living, dining, entertainment area in the middle. So this is the backyard garage, which we're going to turn into a 2-bedroom Airbnb.
Okay.
All right. Do you guys have a calculator there?
Yep.
All right. So you're going to do some homework. You're going to do some work now. Okay. Not just me.
Okay.
All right. So you're going to freak out when I tell you this. What do you think a 2-bedroom Airbnb in Belleville, which is wine country in Ontario, so it's a very prestigious area, what do you think it rents for a night on Airbnb?
$410.
Yeah, that's a really good guess. Yeah, some people are renting these for $400 a night, but in our budget we went with $300.
Oh, okay.
So Rebecca, what I need you to do is I want you to take $300 a night and multiply it by, let's assume that we can rent it 22 nights a month. Okay, what do you get?
6,600.
All right, so that's the income from this. Okay.
Woohoo!
All right. Now let's look at the side view here. Okay. Here's the side view. So this is you remember I said it was back to back, like that?
Yeah.
So this is the 2-bedroom home here, and this is the 5-bedroom home here.
Oh,
So,
I see.
can you see it?
Yeah.
And there's the garage over there, okay? Which is going to
It's
be
a really gorgeous house, hey?
Ooh. When
No?
we finish with it, it'll be like, it was built in 1898. When we finish with it, it'll be worth about $1.5 million.
Wow.
Right now it's not. Right now, of course, it's only worth $485, right?
$485. Nice.
But it's the cheapest house in Old East Hill by far. But when we finish with it, it won't be. All right. So once this tenant moves out, whenever she does, we'll fix this up, and we can rent a 2-bedroom home in Belleville for about $2,000 a month. Okay.
Woohoo.
So are you writing this down? So add $2,000 a month to the other, which was $6,600. So what do you get now? You're at, I think,
82. 82. Oh, 86. 86.
8,600. Okay, you're fired, Rebecca. Jordan, you're hired. And then the 5-bedroom home, my wife and I intend to live there at some point. It'll be a summer home for us. Like I said, it's close to the Bay of Quinte. I have a boat. I like to sail. And, one day I might retire,
Maybe.
I will be 70 this year.
Right.
Yeah, I'm 69. So, you know how they say, hold on to, what was it, the song, hold on to 17 as long as you can?
Yeah.
Hold on to 69 as long as you can. So you know, so it'll be a nice 5-bedroom home for my wife and I. But what I teach people to do is treat your principal residence as if it was a rental.
Right.
Yeah, because one day it might be. You know, I'll leave it to my kids and they'll rent it out. So what would you get for a 5-bedroom beautiful home in downtown Belleville? You know, when you're renting it to say a you know, rich couple from Toronto, you probably get about $4,000 a month. So add another $4,000 a month.
12,600.
And you're getting a lot of money now. What is the total?
12,600.
All right, multiply that by 12.
All right. 12.6 times 12 equals 151.2.
All right, so this property will generate $151,200. And I didn't tell you that the zoning on it is R4. Do you know anything about zoning?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so R1 is like a single family home. R4 allows you to develop everything I talked about and more. If I wanted to build more stuff on it, I could. I'm not going to, but I could. Yeah, I could build an apartment building here, which I'm not going to. I'm just going to keep, I mean, it's a treasure. I'm going to hopefully set this thing up so it'll last another 100 years. So you've got 151,000 and change in gross operating income.
Yeah.
Now, you guys know how to calculate cap rates, correct?
So it is the income over, cap rate is income over expenses?
Close. So
Income over the amount.
we're gonna, don't lose that number, okay? We're gonna come back to that number. But I'm gonna give you my little speech on what a cap rate is, okay? Whether you're looking at commercial property or residential property, I treat them exactly the same.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I want your home to work for you rather than you work for your home. So whether you're buying the mall or you're buying a property like this, okay? I believe that, Jordan, I believe that women should work and children should work. And, you know, and of course, men should work too. I think human beings were meant to work. God or the creator or nature, whatever you prefer, gave us these wonderful brains that it's a gift, and these amazing hands that we all have. And I think, you know, my dad said to me before he passed away that human beings should continue to work throughout their lives and not just, you know, sit around and watch TV, or, you know, that your brain goes to mush if you do that. And so I intend to work, you know, until I can, but, you know, maybe not quite at the intensity level that I'm working right now, but still keep busy, right? I mean, it's important. So you might change what you do, Jordan, over your lifetime, and Rebecca, but keep busy. Don't just sit at home and watch TV. So anyway, I've lost my train of thought here.
Cap rates.
Cap rate, thank you, Jordan. So let's assume for the moment that tonight you two are sitting on your couch and you go, hey, Jordan, there's something under the cushion here. And you look under the cushion and there's $485,000 in cash. So this is great.
Winning.
I love this couch. And you take that money and you buy this property, okay? You buy 140 William Street.
Okay.
For cash. You don't need a mortgage, it's cash, right? And you need another $300,000 to fix it up, you know, to about $100,000 to do the Airbnb in the backyard, and at least another $200,000 to fix up the house. It's probably $300,000. So let's say you need another 400 grand, which is probably right. So the total, and by the way, you all, the next night you go back to the couch and you find another $400,000 so you can pay for the renovations, all in cash.
I never saw that couch.
It's a wonderful couch to have. So your total cost is now $845,000. You got the house fixed up just the way you want it. You got the backyard fixed up, and you've spent $845,000. But all in cash. You didn't need a mortgage. You didn't need any investors. You just found the cash somehow. You know, rich Uncle Buck died and left you $845,000. However you found it, you found it.
Okay.
So what was the total income again? 151?
Yeah.
151, yeah.
Yeah. So divide 151,000 by 845,000. What do you get?
17%.
Yeah. So
17%,
that's your cap rate on 140 William Street. That's your cap rate. So if I were talking to most, realtors, they would tell you, well, Rebecca and Jordan, you should save your money, go buy a nice townhouse in Toronto for $845,000 and rent it out. Maybe you could get $2,500 or $3,000 a month in rent for your townhouse. So let's work on a cap rate for a townhouse in Toronto now. All right. So instead of doing 140 William Street in Belleville, you said, oh, listen to my realtor. He really knows his stuff. Or maybe the previous coach. And so you take $845,000, you buy a townhouse in Toronto, and let's be generous and say you get $3,500 a month in rent from the townhouse. And by the way, I don't think you're going to find a townhouse in downtown or in Toronto for $845,000. Clients of mine just bought one. They're rich dudes. Very nice 4-bedroom townhouse in Toronto. Lovely townhouse, really, in the beaches. I think it was $1.4 million. So we're being very generous to Toronto. Okay, we're assuming a magical townhouse in Toronto. Another client of mine bought an even bigger townhouse in downtown Toronto, just lovely. Needed quite a bit of renovations, but it was really special for 1.7 million. All right, so at 845,000, it's probably not realistic. But so Jordan, take $3,500, multiply it by 12.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
And divide that by $845,000.
Yeah.
What do you get?
Which is
4%. 0.04.
Yeah,
0.9%. 9%.
Okay, so I think you got 4%. Did you say that, Jordan?
Yeah.
Okay.
4.9. So almost 5.
Almost 5.
Almost 5%?
4.9.
4.9? I'm just having trouble.
4.9%. Is it cutting out quite a bit?
It is a little bit. Yeah. So can you hear me okay? All right. So skill testing question for you. What is better, 4.9% or 17%?
I'll take the 17.
Touchdown. Excellent. So now I didn't quite do the calculations correctly, and I want to just correct something so that you understand it. So what we calculated, Jordan, on each of the properties, the Toronto townhouse and the Belleville home, was the gross operating income. In other words, what you're getting in gross rents. As a rule of thumb, you have to take off 34% of whatever money you get in real estate, commercial as well as residential. It goes out the window for property taxes, repairs and maintenance, insurance, vacancies, did I say property taxes? I mean, you've got expenses. You remember, there's nothing to do with mortgages because you didn't need a mortgage, right? You found all this money in your couch. So the actual cap rate on the Toronto townhouse is 4.9% times 0.66. So I'll do that number. You don't have to do it. 4.9 times 0.66. So the cap rate in Toronto is probably about 3.2%, and the cap rate in Belleville is probably 17% times 0.66 is about 11%. So the real numbers is 11% better than 3%? Well, obviously it is.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that you really understand how important this is, because when we talk about the mall in a few minutes, the cap rate is what is going to determine whether you will have success or not.
Okay.
All right. And what I put on my clients is the obligation to not buy any property that has a cap rate less than 6%. So if you come to me and say, hey, Bruce, we got this great mall that we can buy, and the cap rate is 3%, my advice to you is don't buy, because every month you own that property, you're probably going to have to fork out money to own it. And there are a lot of realtors and there are a lot of real estate investment coaches say, oh, don't worry about that. It'll go up in value. But I can tell you, because I've owned an NHL team, that losing money every month is not fun.
Yeah.
And I won't help you do that. And I don't fire many coaching clients. I like coaching, but I have fired a few. And that's really a cruel word, but I have said to a few that I don't think I can help you, because, you know, I had two young fellows in Long Beach, California that I coach that were buying properties with 1.9% cap rates.
Jesus.
And I said, I just can't, I can't, in good conscience, I can't help you buy property like that. You know, if you're going to get 1 or 2%, put your money in the bank and get 1 or 2% and forget about it.
Yeah.
But they were convinced, they were young guys, and they were convinced that there's always somebody stupider than you are who will buy it for more next year.
Yeah.
And they did that for a few years until they went broke. And the good news about it is they came back to me about 3 years later for some coaching.
Wow.
And this time they were prepared to list, because they both had to file for creditor protection. I mean, you know, when you buy a property, imagine buying a property with, some of them were like 1.1% cap rates. The highest, I think, was 1.9. And eventually you get caught, right? It's like musical chairs when you're a kid. You ever play musical chairs?
Yeah.
Yeah. When the music stops, you know, there's no chair. I mean, you run out of stupid people paying ridiculous prices. And that happened in California back in 2009. When they both went broke, and then they came back to me. I think it was in 2013, and since then they've been doing very well. And they're young people, so you know stuff happens, and you know if you go broke at 69, you don't have much runway to fix that. But if you go broke when you're 32, you've got plenty of runway, and they are fixing it. And they're smart guys. They just were. You got to be careful, because there's a lot of bad coaching, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you figure, now that you're cap rate experts, you want to look at that. Okay. So if you find a property like the one in Belleville, which will generate about 11%, that is life changing. Okay. And the reason I call that a free home is that, Rebecca, if you think about it, if you own this property, you would run, I'm sure, an excellent, backyard Airbnb. I mean, you could do that, no problem, I'm sure. You know, I mean, my wife and I operate them. Now, I have to tell you, when I say my wife and I operate them, I don't do anything.
No.
She does it all.
You buy the property, she runs the Airbnb.
She's a mother and a grandmother, and she loves taking care of people. And you know, I don't know how many texts a day she gets from our Airbnb guests. Tell me again how to connect to Netflix. Now, if I got those, you know, if my wife runs off with a younger man, Jordan, I would close those Airbnb so fast your head would spin, because I don't want to get those texts. You know, that would drive me wild. And what I would do, I hope she doesn't run off, but if she did, you know, I would take them off Airbnb literally within a day or two, and I would just rent them out on a long-term rental basis. You know, so instead of making $300 a night for 20 nights or so a month, I could rent out a nice 2-bedroom. I would make, you know, $2,000 a month instead of $6,000 a month, but I'd be okay with that. You know, I'm an old dude. I don't really need a lot of stuff. You know, I don't wear, I mean, the last time I put on a suit was before the pandemic, you know, so I don't really have, I'd be perfectly happy with that. So, but if you're prepared to do the work, and she just loves doing it, then, you know, $6,000 a month is better than $2,000.
Yeah.
Right. So, but for somebody like me, I want, what I want to do with the rest of my coaching, my career, is I want to work with nice people like you and do some teaching, and you know, but I don't want have people call me at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, drunk as a skunk or high on weed, and ask how to connect to Netflix. You know, but you know, she's so patient, and she said, "Oh well, you know, there's 2 controls," and you go, okay. But so what I'm thinking is, what I did in Belleville. Tell me again where you live.
Calgary. Well, just
Yeah.
outside of Calgary in Cochrane.
Yeah, yeah. So you know, I have a daughter in Calgary, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
How old are you, Rebecca?
I am 31.
Yeah, she's 31 too. Her name is Miriam.
Nice.
Yeah, she's a beauty too, by the way.
Yeah.
And she and her husband have a beautiful little boy. His name is Leighton, a year old. And I don't know, maybe I should introduce you.
Cool. Yeah.
No, she's a very nice person, and she's a little bit lonely. I mean, she's a beautiful person, but she's a bit lonely because, you know, Jeremy, her husband, you know, stole her from me and transported her from her home in Ottawa to Calgary. So I know. I mean, I don't want to interfere in any way, but I might introduce you.
Cool.
Yeah.
You sure you're okay with that?
Yeah.
She's an unbelievable, fiery person, and she has a twin brother too.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Where's he?
He lives in my basement.
Love it.
He's 31, obviously, same age as Miriam,
Yeah.
and he just broke up with his girlfriend. So I have a beautiful studio apartment in my basement, and so you know it's you know I walk the talk. My studio apartment is a rental, you know, so even my principal residence here generates some income, but not anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to tell you, I'm hoping he will find another girlfriend soon and move out. But he's quite comfortable here. His mom makes him meals, buys his beer. Dad bought him a truck. He doesn't pay any rent. Life is good.
I don't know if he's going anywhere then.
He's not going anywhere. So our home produces zero income at this stage, but I love him to bits. But nevertheless, you know, it would be a good thing, I think, to find another girlfriend and get on with his life. But anyway, so he's here, and Miriam, we call her Mimi, is in Calgary with her husband and baby.
They've been there for a long time?
She's been there for about a year.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, she fell in love, and then the next thing you know, she's got a husband and a baby.
Yeah.
Stuff happens, right? Do you have any kids yet?
We have
4.
4 kids? You must have told me that. Well, you'll be a good influence on Mimi. I wanted to have more.
Oh, yeah. Honestly,
That's beautiful.
it's a lot. It's a lot. We honestly, we had the kids kind of young.
Yep.
And so now we are, now we're like, oh, we should have been financially prepared to have 100 kids, you know, but that's why we're talking to you.
Listen, I'm going to help you with that. I love you guys for having children and 4 kids. I have 5. And, you know, and my wife, she grew up on a farm and in a small town, and she loves children and grandchildren. Yeah, my wife could get pregnant. Rebecca just high-fived me in the hall, you know. We'd high five, and the next day she'd be pregnant. So
That's why we're having a baby.
yeah. So and I was the one who called it quits after 5. She would have had more. And,
Wow. Does she have a lot of siblings?
Yes, I do. I love children, but Dawn was an only child, and she just wanted to have a big family, and she would have had 7 or 8. And looking back, I probably should. You know, if I were to go back, I would have had more children. Yeah.
Wow.
She wanted. I just love. I think, you know, this is just my thought. You know, I'm not trying to impose anything on anybody else, but I think children are a gift from God, and my 5 kids are. I love them to bits.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna solve it. So imagine, let's go back here. I'll share my screen one more time. Imagine if this place were yours, right? And you have this 2-bedroom home here to rent out, 5-bedroom home here where you guys could live, and maybe your mother-in-law is in this I'll call it a coach house, right?
Yeah.
So the question really then comes, why do I call it a free house? I call it a free house because if you could generate something like an 11% cap rate, if you actually do the numbers, you would be living in this part of the property for free. Basically, the rents that you collect from here and the rents that you're collecting from here are enough to pay your mortgage, your property taxes, and a bit more. Okay? That's what I think the objective is. And I believe that Calgary will afford you these kinds of opportunities. I really believe that. And so one of the things that I think you should look at is for something similar to what I've just described here. It's not easy to find, and you cannot hire a realtor to do it. I am a realtor as well as a coach, but realtors are busy just like everybody else. And they have, I have 2,500 coaching clients and several thousand realtor clients. And if people call me and say, hey, if you ever see, a mall that I can buy, well, that's an impossible request. You with me on that?
Okay.
It's just not. So the only people who will find this kind of hidden, gem, I guess you'd call it, is you.
Okay.
All right. But you have to know what to look for. All right.
Okay.
Are we on the same wavelength?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Now the next question is, how the hell are you going to buy this thing?
Yeah.
You don't have that couch I talked about, do you?
A which?
You don't have that couch we were talking about earlier, do we?
I wish we did.
All right.
Try. I keep bringing new couches in, but they never produce anything.
Yeah, exactly. So the question is, how would you buy a property like this? Do you have any savings at all? I mean, with 4 kids, I'm asking the wrong question, but do you have any savings at all?
So the only thing is that our tattoo shop does have a little bit of a cushion, but
Yeah.
we're kind of tired of having the tattoo shop always supporting other ideas that we have,
Right. I'm listening.
So is it okay if we say we have no savings?
Well, we're going to talk about that then. Okay. So
Okay.
let's assume that you wanted to buy a property like this, but you didn't have $845,000 in the couch in cash, and in fact you maybe only could find, say, $25,000. Would that be something you could probably do?
Where does it have to come from? Can it be like
I don't
lines
know.
of credit?
I beg your pardon?
Line of credit?
Sure, it could be anything that where you could lay your hands on $25,000.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you were going to buy a property like this, like 140 William Street, and you had $25,000, and you could purchase the property, say, for $485. And in Calgary, because of the pandemic and the oil recession, I think house prices are not crazy in Alberta.
They're sitting kind of in like a median, but they're not up, they're not down.
Yeah, they haven't
We'd have
crashed.
to convert them, and there's still some. Oh, sorry.
The question was price ranges.
Okay.
That's it. Not any more, not any less.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do, just as for now, just as a thought experiment, okay?
Okay.
A thought experiment is where we're just fooling around. We're not going to do anything until we've thought it through. But as a thought experiment, I would like you, Jordan and Rebecca, to look at the listings, drive around neighborhoods, and see if you could find something similar to what I just described. I bet you, see what you can find, and probably in the $400,000 to $500,000 range. I'm just saying, okay? See what you can find, but it has to have the animation potential. You remember I talked about animation with you guys. Animation is my word for adding value to property, adding income to property, not Disney animation. So So how would a young couple like you buy a house like this, okay, with $25,000 down? What you would do is you would buy it as an investment property with some investors. That's what you would do.
So would that be joint venture or would that be like
That's
money partner?
that's an excellent question. Let me walk you through it, okay?
Okay.
So, you good? Okay, do you need to
Yeah,
talk
We
to
got the
kids?
number
Tiny
one. Do you want to
person.
say hi? Let's say
Oh,
hi.
dude.
I do.
Hi. What is your name?
Her name
is
is
it?
Aria.
Arya. That was the name of a girl on Game of Thrones.
Oh
That's
yeah,
right.
it was. Yeah.
Arya, do you have a sword?
My
What is
toothbrush
it?
is currently what she has.
You have but you don't have a sword? You don't go around killing people, do you? No. Oh, good. I'm glad, because Arya on Game of Thrones, she did that.
That's what she does.
I
Yeah.
have 3 brothers. Mom and Dad have
Yeah.
4 kids.
Yeah, I realize that. And are you the oldest or the youngest?
Youngest.
I thought you were 18. No? All right, how old are you? This many? Or this many? Or this many?
Oh, show him. Show him how many. Turn your hand all the way. 4.
4. That's
Yeah.
a great age. A great age. 4 is a good age. You know,
Yeah.
18 is good age too, though. I was just a little bit wrong there, Arya.
Awesome.
Right. Oh, she's cute.
Thanks.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Jordan, where were we? Oh, how to finance it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and how to structure it. Good question. All right. So we'll talk both of those things through, and it's very similar to how you could acquire them all. All right.
Okay.
These structures don't change a whole lot.
Whew.
So for this residential property, let's say you were to put in an offer for $485,000, and you would need, you would get, how's your credit score?
Pretty okay.
Yeah.
Like
well,
750, give or take.
Yeah, at both of you in the 700s?
Yeah.
That's good. Keep it there. So you would qualify for an 80% loan to value mortgage in your name to buy it. So you would get say a $380,000 or $390,000 mortgage, and you would need to find $100,000 plus or minus to close the deal, and another $100,000 to renovate it. Why isn't it the full amount to renovate it? Sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
Okay, so we took a whole bunch of legacy classes like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all of this stuff. And they always told us, you know, vendor take back, or you don't need, you know, this and that. Whenever we talk to mortgage brokers, they tell us, A, you don't make enough, B, you're business owners, you can't qualify. We've been trying this for 3.5 years, and I'm ready to plop over.
So here's what you do with that mortgage broker. You fire her or him.
Excellent. Okay.
You know, so one of the things I am really good at is using 2 of Mr. Trump's words, you're fired.
Excellent.
I'm really good at that. And
Okay.
you know, I'm not saying anything about Mr. Trump's politics, but those 2 words are really important words. You should not have anybody in your network of friends, employees, lawyers, mortgage brokers, anybody who you don't like and don't trust.
Okay.
And you know, I have a credit score. I don't know what it is. It's 800 and something, and my wife is similar. I couldn't get a mortgage from a bank if my life depended on it. I own way too many properties. I go in there and they look at my personal balance sheet, which has, you know, 30 pages to it, and they go, I can't help you, right? So I'm no different than you. I have a good credit score. I couldn't get a bank mortgage if my life depended on it. I've been dealing with the Bank of Nova Scotia for 40 years. They wouldn't give me a mortgage. under any circumstances. You know, the typical bank, Royal Bank or Bank of Nova Scotia TD client works for the Alberta government. He makes $185,000 a year. His wife works for the school board, and she makes $135,000 a year. They have $340,000 of family income. They have credit scores in the 700s or the 800s. They've got $500,000 in savings. They're buying a $600,000 house. They're putting $300,000 down. They only need a $300,000 mortgage. Yes, come on in. But when you have a balance sheet like mine, which is a good balance sheet, but is incredibly complicated, forget it. And you guys, even though maybe it might be a little bit different, it's the same for you. So I have mortgage
just don't
brokers.
have the confidence to also back that up because we're at the beginning.
Yeah, but you have a coach who will help you with that.
Thank you.
The one thing that I can do for sure is when you're on the wrong track, I will tell you. And when you're on the right track, I will tell you that. I mean, you know, I'm not your boss. You are the boss. You're not me. But I certainly will put in my 2 cents. Okay. So what you need is you need a mortgage broker. I have about 3 or 4 mortgage brokers I go to, and they're national in scope, who get me mortgages, no problem. But it's all from secondary lenders. So instead of paying 1.5% to 2% on my mortgages are between 3% and 4%. So they're twice what I would get, what I would pay. But it doesn't matter. The reason it doesn't matter is if I can make an 11% cap rate, I've got some properties I make 23% on. So if I pay 3% instead of 2%, I don't care. Now that's just me. You might say, oh, I'm not going to buy anything unless I get a 1.5% mortgage from Bank of Nova Scotia, but you won't buy anything then.
Yeah.
That's up to you. I can't tell you, but to most of the entrepreneurs, in fact, everybody I coach, over 2,500 people, the availability of finance is more important than its price, as long as what you're investing in makes money.
Worth it.
So if I can make, you know, $5,000 a month on a property and my mortgage is $2,000 a month, instead of being $1,500 a month, I don't care.
Right.
But that's just me. So you have to, you 2 guys are going to have a come to Jesus meeting by yourselves and ask the question, do you really care? As long as the investment is great and produces positive cash flow and has great potential for appreciation, the availability of finance is far more important for entrepreneurs than its actual cost, within reason.
Yep.
Okay, you guys are buying that?
Yes.
There you go. I made another sale. So let's go back here. So you guys will qualify, and if you're having any kind of a struggle, I'll introduce you to one of my mortgage guys, and he or she, I've got a couple of 3 guys and 1 woman who work for me, and they'll find you a mortgage. But it'll be between 3% and 4%, not 1 or 2%. It just won't be 1 or 2. But it won't matter, because you find the right property, Jordan and Rebecca will finance.
Okay.
Okay? Just, you know, so have confidence, go out and find something. So you have a $380,000 or $390,000 mortgage. You need $100,000 of cash to complete the deal, plus another $100,000 in cash to renovate it. And what I would do, what we are going to do with the Belleville property, Rebecca, is we're going to renovate the you know, the garage and turn it into a 2-bedroom Airbnb first, because we can't do a damn thing with the buildings. We've accepted their tenants, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're not going to invest $400,000. You know, starting next month, we'll invest $100,000 fixing up the backyard, and we'll make $6,000 a month from that, and we'll get pathetic rents in front. We'll just wait the tenants out.
Yeah.
And if my wife and I decide we're moving into the front house, then we will talk to the tenant in the front and we'll say, look, we are going to be moving there. We're going to renovate it. You will have to leave, because we have that right. So at some point we will do that, because, you know, at 69, I don't have, you know, 30 years to outwait them. And I like sailing, like I said. All right. So, but that's for later. We'll kick that ball down the road. So now you need $200,000 in cash, but you only have 25 grand.
Yes.
So what we are going to do, if you want to, is you are going to put in $25,000, and we'll get some investor or a couple of investors to put in $10,000.
Okay.
Excuse me.
It's all good.
So, Jordan, just to bring you up to speed, you bought this imaginary house in Calgary, which is identical to 140 William. We just transported it to Calgary. And you got a $380,000 or $390,000 first mortgage, and you need $100,000 to buy the thing, to close on it, and another $100,000 to renovate it. And the $100,000 to renovate it for us is to renovate the backyard garage, turn it into a 2-bedroom Airbnb and rent that out. That's all we're going to do initially, because we can't do anything with the house. The tenants are there. So you need $200,000 of cash to close on this house in Calgary, and you've got $25,000. So you put in $25,000 as your equity, and we get a couple of one or two investors to chip in 10 grand of equity. So now we have $35,000 worth of equity in this to fund this project, which means that Rebecca and Jordan own 25,000 divided by 35,000. So basically you own 70% of the building, and your investor friends own 30%. But now you're about to tell me, Rebecca, I know you see it in your mind's thinking, what about the other $165,000? The other $165,000, your investors are going to loan the project.
Okay.
It's going to be a second mortgage.
Okay.
And a second mortgage that's RRSP eligible.
Okay.
I don't know, there's something like, I don't know, $2 trillion worth of RRSPs in Canada. I might not have that number correct, but most people like me who have RRSPs and locked-in retirement accounts and tax-free savings accounts are not really happy with their financial planners. Real estate investment coaching, realtors, accountants, bankers, lawyers, financial planners, they think they actually know something about business and life, but most of them don't.
Right.
And you'll find as you become more sophisticated in this field that financial planners are not well liked, right? They're not trusted.
No.
I had a financial planner try and sell me this life insurance policy, which I thought was a terrible investment, and he didn't even tell me that it was going to cost me $10,000 a month.
Whoa.
And he didn't tell me that if I had been stupid enough to sign the agreement, he's supposed to be my friend, right? This is a friend, that he would have got an $80,000 upfront commission for me having signed that policy. So financial planners, I mean, if you ever watch TV and you see a commercial with a financial planner in it, he's like the villain, right? So you will find that there are an incredible number of people who have, millions of dollars, trillions of dollars of RRSPs who are willing to lend it to entrepreneurs like you at 8 to 10%. Okay, so and I have friends. Write this name down because I'll probably forget I told you, and you'll have to remind me. When you get to 2,500 clients, Jordan, you don't remember everything. So they're the sweetest old couple you'll ever meet. Her name is Denise, and his name is Stuart, and last name is McPherson, MacPherson. So Denise and Stuart McPherson, and they do this for clients of mine all across Canada. So if you wanted to do something like this, they would arrange from their investor friends, an RRSP mortgage for $200,000 at hopefully 8%, but it might be 10%. And you have to look at that as a bridge to something different. Okay, right. So why is it a bridge? So I don't want you to pay I don't mind you guys paying 3 or 4% on your mortgages, but I don't want you paying 8 or 10% for the rest of your lives. That's not helpful. But if I challenged you guys to buy the property at 140 William and fix up that backyard garage and run it through Airbnb, could you do that in 18 months? Absolutely.
Right.
Would you confirm that for me, Jordan?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%. In fact, you're young people. I mean, it might take me a little longer, but young people like you would get it done in probably 7 or 8 months, right? So what you would do is you would fix up the that backyard garage, turn it into a beautiful Airbnb. You'd run it for about a year, generating lots of income, and then you would reappraise the building. Do you understand that?
Yep.
So you bought the thing for $485. You put $100,000 into it, so you're at $585. But now, even though the front building isn't generating much income, at least in 140 William, that little gem in the backyard is. And so along comes an appraiser, and he or she gives you an appraisal, says, hey, it's worth $700,000 now. So now, after a year or 18 months, you go back to that mortgage broker who always says yes. You refinance it at 80% loan to value, conventional, but it would be 3 or 4%, not 1 or 2%. And you pay back the RRSP loans.
Nice.
Now you have a $700,000 property with an 80% loan to value mortgage, right? That you own 70% of. You only put $25,000 down. When you refinance it, not only are you repaying the RRSP mortgages, think about it from your investor's point of view, okay? They own 30% of this wonderful building that entrepreneurs like you have renovated and are operating beautifully, that makes money. Their cost of owning 30% of this wonderful building is $10,000 bucks. So from an investor's point of view, it's a fantastic deal.
Yeah.
Because most of their money came in the form of a loan, which got repaid. So now these same investors say, hey, Rebecca, Jordan, let's do it again. You go out and repeat 140 William a second time. Wait, then you do it a third time. Now you own 3 buildings. And you put, say, $25,000 into building 1, building 2, and building 3. And the investor put in $10,000, 1, 2, and 3. So for almost no money, you now own a few $1 million worth of real estate for almost no money, right? However, there's another step that you're going to take. So maybe it takes you 3 or 4 years to get there. Now you and your investor pals own 3 beautiful buildings. And I'm just going to make up numbers. Say you own 2/3 of it rather than 70%, and they own 1/3 of it. The numbers are rubbery, but that's what it is. So now you're going to turn to your investors and say, listen, Prof Bruce back in 2021 taught us a non-partnership partnership model.
Okay.
And you go, they say, what the heck is a non-partnership partnership? Well, you own 1/3 of 3 buildings, Mr. and Ms. Investor friend, and we own 2/3 of 3 buildings. So how about we own 100% of 2 and you own 100% of 1? We can separate out. They go, oh, that's a great idea. So now, for a grand total of 50 grand, you own 2 beautiful buildings, 100% in your own name, and they own 1. And then they turn around to you and they say, oh, by the way, this is great. We own 100% of it. Would you mind being the property managers for it? Sure, for 6 or 8 or 10%, whatever you get, you'll do the property management for them. Why not? But this also,
I'll keep going.
I beg your pardon?
Like, I mean, if you've been doing it this whole time, might as well keep going.
And get paid for it.
Yeah.
But the beauty of this model, okay, just so you are clear, the beauty of this model is that it allows for different agendas. You're young people. Most of the RRSP investors are my age, some are even older, some a bit younger. And they may have a different agenda. They might say, hey, listen, we made so much money on this, we're going to sell our building. And the problem is that almost all partnerships end in disaster, right? Because of different agendas,
Okay.
right? They want to sell, you don't want to sell. You want to keep your buildings, build a real estate portfolio, have some income when you're old, so you're not eating cat food at 65, and they're going to sell everything they own and move to Costa Rica and drink rum and smoke cigars until they die. So there's still 2 chairs in heaven waiting for the first 2 partners to get there and like each other. And so what I have created is a structure, and we would tell your investors going in that this is the plan, the non-partnership partnership. And investors go, oh, that's such a great idea, because then there's an exit without exiting. Because what we don't want is an investor to say to you, okay, I want to sell. I own 1/3 of these 3 buildings. I'm forcing you to sell. Maybe the market is down. And you say, well, to hell with you. Now you're going to get into litigation. That is a disaster. You want to suck away all your energy, get involved in litigation. And Jordan, just so you know, the quickest way to get poor is to get divorced. So don't do that either.
No.
Right? You ought to keep that young woman sitting next to you. She's fantastic. But the 3 quickest ways to get divorced are, to get poor are get divorced, buy an NHL team, and buy a horse ranch. Right? So I've only done one of
place of horse ranches here, so it's good to know that last one.
Know.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. No, I mean, it's okay. I like to ride horses. My youngest daughter Jessica and I, we ride all the time. But I got friends who own ranches. I go there.
Yes.
That's enough, because horses, just paying the vet bills is a killer. So anyway, so I only did 1 out of the 3, Jordan. Owning an NHL team, which is a disaster. It was a lot of fun, but it was a disaster financially. But I certainly don't want to get divorced, and I'm not buying a horse ranch. Cap rates on that are negative. You're shoveling shit, and you're shoveling your money out with it. Yeah. Okay, so do you understand the concept I've taught you today?
Yes.
Okay, don't forget we recorded this.
Okay.
So if you get rusty on any of it, but I have people, mortgage brokers, people like Denise and Stuart, who are fantastic at this, who could help you buy something really nice, as long as you could find a 10,000 square foot mansion in Calgary for $3.5 million. We're not going to help you buy that. Okay, because that doesn't, again, the cap rate could be negative, and the whole system will not work unless you find, a property that you can animate, a property that makes money, that has a really good cap rate. This system works. I've got 2,500 people in the United States and in Canada.
It's funny. We sat and played with your spreadsheet yesterday, and like she said, we've done legacy. We've had tons of people give us their different kinds of spreadsheets. Up until yesterday, yours was the only one that was properly broken down to move things forward and actually make sense, as opposed to putting all of these numbers in that look good, that you like do your little pre-analysis and do all of that. Then you go to these spreadsheets and all of a sudden you're like, 1.5
well, I thought it would make
rate,
sense,
even though before
but I'm
my
not
other calculation
sure.
was better.
Like,
it was just awful.
Jordan, you just made my day, brother. You really did, because I'm a very, very simple guy, and I love my wife, I love my family, and the stuff I teach is not rocket science. It's not like putting a man or woman on Mars, but
right.
By golly, it works. And you just made my day. So a couple other things I want to show you. All right.
Okay.
So there's some other things that you put in your agenda, and we might not get through your entire agenda today. I know. That's okay. We could be here for 24 hours with that agenda. And just so you know, in 20 minutes, I'm being interviewed by the Canadian military. They want me to do some coaching for the armed forces. So I got to be careful. I'm so committed to coaching, but maybe overcommitted. But I am going to do the interview at noon. So I have to put on a big smile for them and tell them all kinds of lies about me. So I wanted to show you, though, a couple of other things that I think are might be helpful to you, and you're really, I think, quite interested in it anyway, Rebecca, and probably Jordan too. I wanted to show you if I could find it here. Yeah, this is one of my clients. Her name is Annie on the Go.
Wow.
She's out in
Did they
Vancouver.
bring grease to glamping? That is genius.
Say that again, Jordan.
Did they bring grease to glamping?
No, I'll explain. This is Annie here. She's a coaching client of mine. She's in BC, like in some really great spot. Like she's on Vancouver Island. And so this is, believe it or not, a legitimate, authentic Tibetan, excuse me, Mongolian yurt. It is a legitimate, honest to God. And so she bought this. Annie is an unbelievable young woman. She bought this yurt from a vendor in Mongolia, brought it to BC, and set it up in her backyard. It's urban glamping. Urban glamping, right? You know, I'm the pioneer of urban glamping. I think I kind of, I mean, rural glamping is well known, but urban glamping was something I think I did. So I told Annie about it. So she bought this amazing yurt, and look at I just wanted to show you the numbers. This is Annie. She's getting $255 a night from May till October, and $355 a night July and August.
Wow.
So it cost her about $20,000 for this yurt, and then a few dollars to furnish it. Okay, and so I think it including a deck that she had to build, I think she's in for about $30,000. But she is making, I mean, some incredible number. I'll just give you about $265 times 300 nights a year. Oh, it's just ridiculous. I'm not even going to tell you the number. I mean, she's making so much money with it because not everybody, you know, when my wife and I visited Hawaii the last time we were able to go, my wife booked us into this like 5-star hotel. And she said, "You're going to love it, Bruce. You know, Michael Douglas stays here." I don't know if you know who Michael Douglas is, but he's like a movie star. I couldn't care less, you know. You know, Michael Douglas, I don't know him. But she was excited. Oh, he stays there. So we stayed there. I lasted 3 days, Jordan. 3. We were supposed to be there for 10. And so I said, nah, we're leaving. So I booked us a couple of horses, and we took took a day trip into sort of a remote part of the Big Island. We rode in, and they had these beautiful bunkies, cabins on a bay. There were only like 8 of them there. And we stayed there for the rest of the trip. I had a lot more. Frankly, she did too. We had more fun. Like being in a hotel room to me is, you might as well be in an apartment in downtown Toronto or something, you know, or downtown New York. I'm not really good with that. So I told Andy about clients of mine in Portugal who are in the northern city of Porto, which is a really cool city in northern part of Portugal, who are doing urban glamping. And she's, oh, I gotta do that. You know, she's that kind of a person. So she's gonna make about 50 grand at least on this thing a year. It would be like us buying a house for $300,000 and being able to rent it out for $500,000 a year.
Right.
So another thing that you could do is you could do something like that with 140 William in Calgary. You could have the backyard thing, right? You know, your Airbnb, which is for, you know, nice folks, but you could do something authentic like this. And what's really interesting about that is that because it's a tent, you don't need a building permit for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll show you something that I did, if I can find it here.
Have you ever seen somebody take it with like a teepee extreme? Because we have a couple of Métis reserves next to us, so I feel like it would be one of those things that kind of hits the surrounding area.
Yeah, everything's different. I do actually have clients called Whispering Springs. They have these giant teepees. They're humongous that people are paying, between $300 and $400 a night to be in. These are really exciting ideas because it doesn't cost very much to do, and we're not talking about 11% cap rates, which is really good. We're talking, or even 23%. I mean, I don't know. It's dangerous to quote, like 100% cap rates.
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
but that's what Annie is doing. And it's producing enough income for her that she's going to buy more investment property, right? So I just wanted to show you, this is the last thing I think I could do today because I'm running out of time, and I apologize for being late.
No,
No, not at all.
it's us, honestly.
Oops. So this is a glamping tent that we were actually we own, my wife and I own a 177-acre property on the second best fishing lake in Ontario. We have 3 homes on it, 3 cottages on it, 8 RV sites, 4,000 frontage feet on the lake. So it's quite a nice property, but everything that I own has to make money. I like fishing. My kids, my boys especially, they like to fish, and my grandsons too. So, we enjoy the property, but it has to make money, right? So I was going to buy some of these glamping tents and add them to our property. But then it turned out that one of my former architecture students, her name is Anissa Zato, makes these yurts. So these yurts are different from the authentic yurt that you saw that Annie has. Annie's she's kind of like a hippie. Okay?
Yeah.
Even though I came from that era, I'm not a hippie.
Yeah.
That's not my deal. But that's Annie, and I totally respect that. And she wanted something that's very authentic. I did not. So if you buy a glamping tent like this, Jordan, it's very nice, but in Ontario, it's only good for 113 days. Because it's way too cold. It's way friggin' Ontario. I mean, we have 113 days of summer. That's it. And I don't think Alberta's much more. No. So BC is a little better, but still it gets cold. So what my former architecture student Anissa does is she builds these are beautiful yurts, and they're a little bit more modern. It's more my deal than say a hippie tent. Okay, so I bought two of these for our property. Can you see the bubble up here?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So you lie in your bed and you can see the stars and the heavens above. And what's really good about these yurts, you can see how beautiful they are. What's really good about this is our place here.
Wow. Yeah.
You can see inside. They're bigger than the Mongolian yurts. So the ones I bought are 21 feet in diameter. They're about 12 feet high, so nice and high. They've got this bubble at the top, so when it gets too hot in the summer, you can lift the bubble. Or in the winter, of course, you close it. So we put 2 of them on our property on Constant Lake near Eganville. They're absolutely beautiful. And they come with these chimneys, and they're insulated. And guess what? They're good down to -40.
Wow, -40.
-40. And you can see that you can have winter glamping. So I didn't want something that we couldn't use in the winter time. And I couldn't believe how popular these are, Rebecca, even in the winter. Now, we don't get quite the same prices in the winter as we do in summer, but we've been booked even throughout the pandemic. We've been booked summer and winter. The only difference is that in ours, we did not put wood burning furnaces in there. We put in propane furnaces. The reason I love the wood burning furnaces, but I don't trust our guests not to kill themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of the people who are in this business, like my wife and I are, they do allow wood burning, wood burning fireplaces. We do not. We have propane, and we have some that where we have natural gas pipes going by. We have some on other properties that we own that are natural gas, right? So if you can get access to natural gas, so the amount of money we make with these, not just on our our holiday property up near Eganville, but on other properties, including some urban locations, is unbelievable. We're not doing quite as well as Annie. We don't get $300 or $400 a night, but we get $165 to $185 a night. You know, and
So how much is one of these little bad boys?
so this one here that we bought was $21,000. Like I said, good down to minus 40. Then we built a really expensive deck. So about, I think we spent about 18 grand on the deck. And then we put a bathroom next to it and a hot tub. So we spent about $45,000 on these, and we bought 2 of them for this particular properties, and including furniture. We're in for about $45,000. Last year we made about $36,000 on each one. So that would be like buying a $450,000 house and renting it out for 360 grand.
Yeah.
So we're really super happy with it. But again, it's an Airbnb thing, and and the boss runs it, not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But these are the kinds of things that I think really are fantastic. And there is one other model that I won't have time to. I've just got a reminder. I've got my call with the military coming up. So there was one other model that I wanted to show you today, but I ran out of time. But I would like to show you another model that is really simple. It's called Cabin in the Woods.
Okay.
And so if you wouldn't mind writing it down and putting it on the agenda for next time.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to them all, but
Okay.
the concepts that I've talked about today will apply to them all. So we're going to have to kick some of your agenda items down. The other thing I need you to do is, as I said, keep a really good set of notes for the next agenda. And I need you guys to send me a mid-month report. So over the next couple of weeks, I want to hear back from you. We've talked about, maybe doing some research on properties available in the area. And I want to hear from you. What are the issues that you're dealing with? Because if I only hear from you once a month, the coaching won't work as well. So I need a mid-month report. It can be in point form. It doesn't have to be, a novel. So just give me a report. Here are the issues that we're facing. Here's some questions that we're facing. Here's some of the stuff that we've been working on, and I'll give you some feedback. And then we'll have another formal coaching session next month.
Okay. That's
Excellent.
perfect.
And we'll try and get the time right.
Yes. Okay. It's always based on your time then, your time zone?
Well, it will be, Eastern time zone, but you're only 2 hours behind, so we'll figure it out.
Yes. Because
All right, and watch tomorrow. I will upload this video because I've recorded it all. I'll upload it to YouTube and send it to you. If you want to refer to it, you can.
Okay, that's perfect.
All right,
Okay.
guys.
Good luck.
Enjoy your
Thank you.
meeting.
It was a great meeting. See you guys.
Take
Okay.
care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.